Okay. All right. So we're here with Gary Thrash. He's a former employee with the BLM. How many years ago did you retire?
I retired in 2008. So
2008. Oh wow. So that's kind of like retired right before I moved here in March.
And then I worked as a contractor for the Forest Service and BLM after I retired.
Okay, so can you tell me just a little bit about like just your career path with the BLM and how you got started and kind of the different places that you moved, different positions that you had?
Okay. Well, I worked after college. I graduated from Colorado State University in '71, and I prior to that I was working as a seasonal for the National Park Service during the summers, and I continued that until '75 and worked a couple seasons for the Forest Service in Washington State. And then I spent a little bit of time in North Dakota in the middle of the winter in '77, '78, doing wetland studies in the winter in North Dakota. And then I got a call off a Federal Register for a job with the BLM in Durango, Colorado. So I was a range technician. That was a permanent position. At that time, they called it when actually employed, so I was required to take two weeks of time off without pay every year, and then come back. I only did that 1 year, and then I got full permanent status with them. So to get out of I was basically the San Juan Range rider, so I was checking on cattle and sheep allotments throughout southwest Colorado. In the summertime, the high elevation up around Silverton in the mining district is all summer sheep range. And so they end up bringing these big herds of sheep, and then so my job was to make sure they were doing the rotation, and trying to find out where they were at sometimes, where the sheep herders took them. And then in the wintertime, it was mostly winter grazing out in the Indian juniper woodlands and the sagebrush steppe. And then after we got married here in Durango, I thought, well, with the family, it'd be nice to get out of the technician series and to advance. And BLM was a small agency, and it was easy to do. When I started here in Durango, there were 7 employees, count myself, on close to 700,000 acres of public lands to manage. So at that time, they didn't have the subsurface mineral responsibilities. USGS Conservation Division did everything downhole, and then BLM did service compliance on oil and gas development. And it was just starting to get going in southwest Colorado during the late '70s. So they had an opportunity for a lands and minerals school down in Phoenix that BLM put on, basically to teach employees the differences about public lands under the BLM, just their history and how it got to come about. And part of that, you'd get reassigned to a position as a realty specialist, lands person.
Okay.
So I put my name in the hat. I got selected for a job in Prineville, Oregon, prior to going to the land school. So we moved to Central Oregon in 1980, and then I went to the land school in Phoenix for 6 months shortly after that, and then went back to Prineville. We spent the 80s in Prineville, started out as a lands person dealing with rights-of-way for power lines, private roads across public land. And then in the early 80s, rafting was taken off. World War II military came out with rubber rafts, but they weren't readily available except through Army surplus organizations. But in the late 70s, early 80s, it started to become available, the neoprene rafts for private recreation users. So boating on the Deschutes and John Day River took off big time. And so BLM started thinking, well, we need to regulate some of this recreation. And I ended up taking over that responsibility for river recreation on the 2 rivers in 1984. And we went from, when I took over the program, there were 35 outfitters. When I left in 1989, there were 130 outfitters. It just explosive growth, and several 100,000 visitor days in the Deschutes River, wonderful whitewater river, and good fishery, good salmon, steelhead fishing. And so we get a lot of fishing guide use as well. So And then, because I was willing to do just about anything, I also got assigned duties to do a NEPA on a geothermal project at Blueberry Crater in just south of Bend, Oregon. That's Forest Service land. And BLM, in its history, it's the mineral manager for the U.S. government. And so we manage the mineral of BLM. President Dance manages the minerals, and the Forest Service, any National Park Service lands that might be available, of course, Fish and Wildlife refuges.
It's in the public lands. I mean, everybody has a right to have that say. And that's part of it. Something unique about the United States is that we do have those public lands that people can, voice their opinions about. And then Congress is, with our division of powers, Congress is the one that writes the laws, and then BLM or the Forest Service or whatever tries to execute them. And that doesn't always work out the way some people would like to see it work.
Well, awesome. I learned so much about the BLM from you. I had no idea about all of these things. So, yeah, it sounds like you have a very interesting career.
Yeah, it's the hard part, staying out of it now that I'm retired. And
I bet.
They had a meeting locally on the master leasing plan, and I went to that just to hear the discussion. And one thing that came out of so it'd Clinton's in the 90s, the range reform, Bruce Babbitt, was that they set up these resource advisory councils, which are citizen advisory groups to the BLM. And I think it's a good idea. They struggle finding what their purpose is sometimes. And they took on this master leasing plan to go around, hold public meetings on it. And so I was impressed with the group they had that were asking really good questions to the public and saying, you're proposing that we do this, but it's we don't see a reason. And I'm looking at it, well, most of that we covered through the RMP. And they're not going to make a leasing decision whether to lease or not lease.
Yeah.
So trying to stay out of that, just
probably the hardest thing right now is just not being able to.
Yeah, and not having any input into some of that discussion.
You have to just be part of the public now.
Yeah, exactly. Just another person in the public. So.
Yeah, well, very cool. Well, thanks for your time, Gary.